going down. Right the way across England, Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland, the number of patients in critical care is coming down right the way across. It's coming down slowly, as you would expect, but it's on its way down. And that in turn starts to lead to the decrease in deaths.
In the US, Donald Trump says he's confident COVID-19 came from a lab in China. He says he has evidence to prove it, but refused to go into any more detail at his White House press conference. His Secretary of State Mike Pompeo doesn't appear to share his opinion, though.
Look, we still haven't gained access. The world hasn't gained access to the WIV, the Virology Institute there. We don't know precisely where this virus originated from.
US officials don't believe the virus was man-made. They're still looking at whether it could come from animals or was accidentally released. The ruler of Dubai has donated 60 tons of personal protective equipment to the NHS to help fight coronavirus. Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum bought the PPE from suppliers in China. The first of several plane loads arrived at Heathrow Airport yesterday. In the city, the FTSE 100 will reopen at 59.01 after closing down 214 points yesterday. The pound buys $1.25 and €1.14. The weather, sunny spells and showers for most, those showers heavy at times across northern and eastern areas. Drier in the southwest of the UK, a high of 16 Celsius. From Global's newsroom, you're up to date.
One day, social distancing will be a memory. Flattening curves will be done at the gym, and we'll all be experts in web chatting. Maybe. Until then, HSBC UK is here to help. From contacting those who are most vulnerable, to setting aside £8 billion of lending to support our UK business customers. Because you are not an island. You are part of something far, far bigger. To find out everything we're doing to help, search HSBC UK Coronavirus. HSBC UK. Together, we thrive.
After 7 on Friday, May the 1st. Yes, it's May Day. Britain has passed the peak of the virus. There is a lockdown exit map. The Prime Minister will give us details next week. It will obviously cover the economy and the schools, and it's possible we're going to support the use of masks. It's all down to R. But exactly what is R? In other news, you heard that suggestion from Donald Trump. He's seen evidence coronavirus came from a lab in Wuhan. Details on that. 200,000 of you have shot your neighbour for breaking the lockdown. Would you do that? Wizz Air restart London flights to Spain. We have a reporter at the airport to see just exactly who will be leaving on those flights. Oh, why is it that obese patients are almost 40% more likely to die than others who are hospitalised with the virus? And is coronavirus going to see off Ken Barlow? He's been on the show for 60 years, but it could be the end for our Ken.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 60 60 973. Text 84850. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
Notice I said Ken Barlow, not the actor, so it's fictional. William Roach has not, that just occurred to me. William Roach does not have coronavirus. It's the character Ken Barlow they're concerned about. I'll explain more with Neighbours. I'm sorry, with Coronation Street. Neighbours is the other one. With Coronation Street later in the show. A different tone. Boris back with a Boris bounce. An exit plan is on its way. We're past the peak and we're going through an alpine tunnel. Apparently it was a mugger the other day. Now we're in a tunnel. LBC's political editor Theo Ashwood is keeping up.
Boris Johnson attended his first Downing Street briefing in more than a month, having been struck down himself by COVID-19, and the Prime Minister attempted to strike an upbeat tone. The very worst of this pandemic was over.
And so I can confirm today that for the first time we are past the peak of this disease. We're past the peak and we're on the downward slope. And we have so many reasons to be hopeful for the long term.
Amongst those reasons to be hopeful is a vaccine that's being developed by AstraZeneca and Oxford University, but that will not be ready until much later this year, if not 2021. The government has faced severe criticism about the lack of protective equipment for NHS staff and failure to implement a wide-scale testing programme. But yesterday, the Prime Minister Minister said the country had managed in the most important test of all to shield the NHS from a pandemic which could have claimed up to 500,000 lives.
No patient went without a ventilator. No patient was deprived of intensive care. We have 5 of the 7 projected Nightingale wards. And it's thanks to that massive collective effort to shield the NHS that we avoided an uncontrollable and catastrophic epidemic, where the reasonable worst case scenario was 500,000 deaths.
But Mr. Johnson warned that despite the country passing the peak of the first wave of coronavirus, the states now could see the UK face a deadly second outbreak of the infection, or a second, even bigger mountain, as the PM put it.
We've come under what could have been a vast peak, as though we've been going through some huge alpine tunnel, and we can now see the sunlight, and so it is vital that we do not now lose control and run slap into a second and even bigger mountain.
Boris Johnson completing Theo Arshill's report here. Thank you. You're back with more details as regards the exit strategy at the top of the next hour. But let's get more details on that and also get into this question of R, which of course was played out and which they're desperate that we understand and get our head around. First to Philip Blonde, who's director of the Res Publica think tank and served as advisor to David Cameron. Philip, there was a classic Boris flourish there with the idea of an alpine tunnel, but was it the sort of speech that we're looking for, delivered with the sort of panache? Good morning to you.
Good morning. Yeah, I think it was. I mean, I think poor man, he looked as he was. He looked like he'd been through some kind of physical illness, tired and breathless, but the energy and the commitment were there. I thought it was impressive. I think what was also interesting is he was trying to defend the government through it just before
news headlines. Holly Harris.
Boris Johnson has promised to reveal in the next week how the UK's lockdown restrictions will be eased and insists the coronavirus outbreak is past its peak. President Trump claims he's seen evidence COVID-19 originated in a lab in Wuhan, but has refused to provide any details. Consultation rooms at Boots pharmacies are going to be used as safe spaces for those suffering domestic violence at home. The weather dry in the southwest, showers elsewhere, a high of 16 Celsius.
LBC travel light throughout with one lane closed on the M25 both ways between junctions 5 at the M26 and the Clackett Lane services because the emergency repair works are still taking place. Very slow on the A12 in both directions to the North Circular Road junction, and that's because of an accident actually on the Redbridge roundabout. In Bayswater, Bishopsbridge Road is closed westbound because of the emergency repair works. On the train, southern services are delayed between London Bridge and Tulse Hill. That's all down to a track problem, but please remember you should only be travelling if your journey is essential.
This is LBC. Picture in your mind a stylish Audi with striking LED headlights, sporty alloy wheels, and some of our most advanced features, including a 10-inch digital cockpit and smart assistant systems like lane departure warning. Picture what that Audi looks like. Now think smaller. The Audi A1. It's not a small car, it's a small Audi. Visit audi.co.uk. Audi, for Sprungtechnik. Call Nick Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973. This is LBC. Together with Versus Arthritis, Steve Allen discusses the challenges of his own condition. What I've learned since getting arthritis is that the condition can impact everybody in different ways. It can be work, relationships, independence. It's all these things that we don't even think about until it affects someone you know. For me, it's brought on by the weather. It seems to cause more pain when the weather's a bit miserable, especially bad in my fingers, and I even find myself rubbing them strangely in my sleep. I mean, it's a constant frustration. Steve Allen, talking about the impact of arthritis. Some people can feel that their whole lives are dominated by arthritis, but there is help and advice out there, so don't feel alone. Talk about it more, and all of a sudden that problem that you have will be a problem shared. That's why LBC is speaking out against arthritis. It's not all right, it's arthritis. Join us at versusarthritis.org.
If you're dreaming of a fresh start, a new life in a new country, stop dreaming and start planning with a free online Canadian migration workshop and expo. Get all your immigration questions answered by licensed specialists, including a session for younger people. Join from the comfort of your own home this Saturday the 2nd and Sunday the 3rd of May from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Register free online for more information and the agenda at www.canadawebexpo.com.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
With Zero, accounting software for small businesses that works anywhere you do.
18 minutes after 7 on every weekday morning around this time, I give you the grand toll of the coronavirus impact globally. And the number of cases, 3,308,555. Death tally now, 234,112. To the United Kingdom, confirmed cases stand at 171,253. Sadly, an increase of death of 26,711 is the number of deaths. Sad deaths, 26,711, an increase of 614. And the other number to watch, of course, are the testing targets. Now, they've still got another day to go, and you may recall earlier in the week I had a £100 wager with Health Secretary Matt Hancock, and I'm pretty happy to say I'm going to be writing that cheque. I always said I wanted to write the cheque, and I think, as I recall, the Health Secretary says it's going to go to hospice care, as I recall. He said, anyway, the tests now. Remember, they needed to get to 100,000, but we need to get the figures in for yesterday. 81,611, a lift of 29,182. So they'd only need to do around half, almost half of that, and they're there. And that's fantastic. It's cost me £100 and I couldn't be happier. Mr. Hancock, I'll be delighted to send you that cheque for hospice care, I think it is. But let's see on Monday when I return. But I am hoping they hit that figure. It would be great news. Talking about news, let's tell you about the newspapers. And as we discussed with our first contributor, the idea of the peak, very punchy, and he is of course speaking as a former journalist. He knew that that would make many of the front pages, and he's absolutely right. The Times, Britain past peak of virus. The Guardian, peak of this disease, says Johnson. So there's the headlines he probably wanted. The other is the idea of the lockdown. We said that there were maybe 3 or 4 lines there that all headline lines. There's the Daily Telegraph. Johnson pledges to real roadmap out of lockdown. So again, getting that message across. The Daily Express joining in as well. At last, we're past the peak of virus, as is the Daily Mirror. Bear in mind, the Daily Mirror, very much a Labour supporting paper, has been hugely and publicly justifiably critical of the government at times. And there is a picture of a rainbow on the front page of the Daily Mirror with a simple headline, "We're past the peak." So I think, as Mr. Johnson wrote that, he knew that the headline writers would be all over it. Another aspect of this, or possibly a headline, which again has been served by the eye, the UK public will be told to wear masks. It's not actually a definite instruction yet, but my goodness me, the mood music is certainly there, isn't it? The Daily Mail continues its very successful airlift. Remember, they got £1 million worth of PPE in just 2 days ago. Now we can care safely, and there's pictures of 2 nurses, no, they're not, they're care workers, my goodness, care workers with an elderly patient, and they're wearing all the kit supplied by the paper, so credit to them, well done on that. And the Sun's front page, Penny Pinch Posh Bextown. Oh, I see, Penny Pinch Posh Bextown, I get it now. Victoria Beckham has made a U-turn last night by pledging to reverse her decision to furlough staff. Posh's family is worth £335 million, the Sun helpfully points out. 7:21, you're listening to LBC News Breaking this time. More jobs gloom, I'm afraid. Ryanair has said it expects up to 3,000 jobs to be lost as part of restructuring of the airline. 3,000 jobs going at Ryanair. We'll look at that at our regular look at the world of finance. We're just coming back to the newspapers. One story that doesn't make the front pages, but it's an interesting line inside the papers. He's been on the show for 60 years since it started. I speak of Ken Barlow, but the ITV director of television, Kevin Ligo, says that when Coronation Street starts resuming filming, there will initially be no part for William Roach, who plays the actor. Some people who are in a dangerous zone won't be there for a time. I don't want Ken Barlow to get sick on my watch. William Roach is 88 and determined to get back to work, but it might be a while before you see him having a pint when the Rovers return. Bailey's in Hillingdon. Do you think we've passed the peak, Bailey? Good morning.
Morning, Nick. Yeah, I mean, we have passed the peak, sort of following the plan of various other countries around the world. I think it's brilliant that we have, what you were saying earlier about the 20 quid a while. I think that's what benefit that is. I mean,
yep, I'm very happy to give the health secretary 100 quid.
I'm sure you are, as many other people would be. The reason for my call in this morning is, I mean, some people are very negative on this whole thing, and so they should be. This is a very bad time around the world. Everyone's going through it. Everyone's sort of had a backlash of it, whether it's work or family related. But I mean, say that our government hasn't done a good enough job when our Prime Minister has had it himself.
And the health secretary.
And to have 2 weeks out of the office.
Yeah.
You know, that could have been a life or death for him. You don't think this man wants it completely eradicated, wants to do his best job possible, just elected into power, and I just think, what sort of low blow, what sort of people would say that? I believe there's no need for it.
Well, do you think the media have been too negative, lastly, Bailey?
I mean, yeah, no, I mean, some look what's happening, more negatives coming out than positives.
Yes.
Absolutely, but then sometimes you read the news and you hear 2 more babies survive, which is brilliant, though.
Yes,
I mean,
that's right.
I don't think, as much as everyone loves to scrutinise media, myself included, I do believe, you know, we have to be very negative.
I agree with you.
We need to be more positive,
yeah.
not that to be negative. Why not be more positive? I'm surprised. Why are we half empty and not half full? I don't get it.
When you remember their first goal was to make sure the NHS didn't fall over like it did in Italy, the Italian equivalent, then they did actually achieve that. Bailey, we've not spoken before. Your first time call. How long have you been listening, sir?
To be honest, this week only.
You've only in the first week. That's almost a world record. So what radio station were you listening to last week?
This is my first week back at work this week, so I'm back in. And we have listened to LBC before, but I feel like it's
great. What do you do for a living?
I'm a chippy.
Good luck with it. Bailey, have a safe day. Good that you're back at work, I'm sure. Stay safe. 7:25. Now, Bailey, they're talking about negation into the supply of PPE. But now it's emerged that many of the medics interviewed were political activists. 5 of them were members of the Labour Party, one of whom had actually sought to stand against Boris Johnson in his own constituency in Uxbridge and Ruislip. I put some of the points on the show to Matt Hancock when he appeared earlier this week.
Look, I haven't seen the panorama, but I'm not sure that all the claims made in it were were complete reflection of reality. I mean, we are dealing with a understandably febrile media environment. The great thing is that the vast majority of the public are supporting the enormous efforts we're going to try to sort out the problems that we face now, rather than engage in some of the finger pointing.
Thanks to the work of the Daily Mail, the Panorama investigation now can be seen to be perhaps not exactly as billed, and no mention was ever made of the fact that the doctors and nurses with whom they were speaking were members of the Labour Party. So much for BBC Balance. Let's put that to Kelvin Mackenzie, media executive, former editor of the Sun newspaper. Have the BBC boobed here? Kelvin, good morning.
Well, it wouldn't be a boob, because a boob would be a mistake. They knew exactly what they were doing. They loaded the program completely with people who are massively hostile to the Conservative Party. Many of them were Corbyn standard bearers and were wearing the badges. I hate the Tories and all the rest of it. And I have nothing against any of that, but I am alongside the BBC editorial guidelines on this matter, where it says that they have to say what the political ambitions of the people giving their views on the programme, if it's considered appropriate. Well, when you consider that all five of them, plus the nurse, were all massively hostile to the Conservative Party, and then they had McDonald on there, an ocean-going dud, and demanding that Hancock be fired, and Abbott saying it's all disgraceful and everything. The whole thing could have been a Labour Party propaganda. It could have been a political program, and so Panorama let themselves down by doing this. They do some good work, but within the BBC, the check is coming in. All employees, the check is coming in every day, every week. There is no issue about what the atmosphere is like within the BBC. Anybody who's ever worked there knows that it's a centre-left, far-left organisation. They may secretly occasionally vote Conservative, about 3 or 4% of them. But if you get known to being a Conservative Party member within the BBC, or you are a natural Conservative, you are in big trouble. Ask anybody who has that leaning within the corporation. They would say, if I want preferment, if I want to stay in the job that I've got, I have to pretend to be Labour, or at the very least Liberal. It's an extraordinary organisation, and it's no wonder. Remember, Boris said that he wasn't going to allow any of his ministers to appear on the Today programme and various other
yeah, they all came here. They all came here.
Now, he's had to drop that because the national interest is that the ministers say what they're thinking and what the strategies are all the time. But this doesn't stop the BBC then saying, I'll tell you what, we'll give you a good whack on Panorama. Look, the government may have made mistakes. This is a phenomenal, unique moment in all our lives. Shocking statistics coming out every day. But to my mind, and I'm not massive Conservative cheerleader for the government, to my mind, they're effectively doing their best. The idea that some halfwit as a presenter or some producer on Panorama could get within 10,000 miles of these professors, academics, fabulous scientists, brilliant business brains coming up with solutions to a problem that had never faced us before is ridiculous.
Kelvin, grateful as ever for your strong views. Kelvin Mackenzie, media executive, former editor of the Sun newspaper. You'll have your own views on that. Already people saying that they thought the Panorama, on emails, texts and tweets saying the Panorama was justified. But I put it to you again, those of you who think that,